I'm gonna end up doing a lot more research into this because this is, hey, so the ladies I have lunch with every day, they're like, I'm like, yeah, no, that one of them I haven't seen in a couple of weeks, and she's like, so what have you been up to? I'm like, oh, I impulse bought a dehydrator to make beef jerky, and I impulse bought the shit to grow potatoes. And I think I start telling her how next year
you just explain to her without telling her that you're getting prepared for an apocalypse.
Yeah, basically. So and then I'm like, hopefully I get good at the potatoes, and the next year I can make like a tomato potato plant, those things. Yeah. And I explain it's a nightingale thing, and then one of them just goes, Nick, you need a girlfriend. I'm like, what?
Girlfriend that likes potatoes?
We need to find you a woman. I'm like, thanks. I think I don't have time for that because I decided to impulse buy potato and jerky.
Maybe next year when I'm done growing potatoes.
Yeah. Oh, is it after harvest?
And fucking welcome back, motherfucking bitch fucks. All right, we're gonna redo that one.
Yeah, that was. I like. No, I liked it. That came off a little strong.
Might have been too many curse words for our educational podcast.
Maybe. I mean, if we bleep them out, we could market this podcast to school children.
All right, that's the plan.
Theoretically,
there we go. That's the plan.
Yes.
You are allowed to say bitch though.
Because it's a dog.
Perfect.
It's a female dog.
And welcome back, everyone. We got fucking part 2 going on of Drew Peterson. It's been, I think, almost a fucking month since we recorded part 1, and we're recording part 2 before part 1 even comes out. So this is awful so far.
Really? Is it not out yet?
No.
It comes out
shit. Oh shit. I know what our podcast recording schedule is.
I know most people who do podcasts, aka the popular ones, record that shit literally the week before they come out. But we ain't got time for that because we don't make enough money, so we have real jobs. So we backlog everything.
You listening right now, you can fix that.
You can.
True.
Yes. All we need is one Omani oil baron to listen to us and be a big fan.
We'll figure it out. We'll start recording part 1s and part 2s closer together, so it works out better next time.
To be fair, we were supposed to record this one like 3 days later, but we didn't.
Yeah,
we don't need that.
Yeah, stop fucking putting this shame into my life. But yeah, part 2. So I'm Jeff.
I'm Adam.
I'm Nick.
I am drinking Yingling Raging Eagle. It has a super dope looking can. Nick's not even looking, but it's mango.
That is a cool can.
It's mango, and I'm on my second one, about to be on number 3. It's actually pretty refreshing. It's not like that not great Busch Light apple. It doesn't have an overpowering fruit flavor with a weird beer aftertaste.
I am drinking Jose Cuervo ready-to-drink margaritas, strawberry light margarita. Yes, the bottle is less than half full, because I drank a bottle and more than a half on Saturday.
Watching Chitty Bang Bang on repeat.
That's a lie. We watched it once, and then we started Goonies.
Ended Goonies.
Hockey fights.
You watch hockey fights,
which happens every time.
Got 3/4 of the way through Moneyball, and also
and then we were falling asleep.
Oh yeah, we watched Black Widow after Chitty Bang Bang.
I need to rewatch that because I remember very little.
Next time you're over, I'll give it to you.
I am watching. I'm watching. I'm reading. I'm reading. At this point, I might as well just be inhaling this Gold Pond medicated foot powder, because I don't have alcohol and I don't want to drink beer because I need to lose some weight because I have a thing coming up that I would like to not die of. So, yeah, that'll be fun. No, my surgery, which we should talk about at some point about that recording schedule.
I think by that time we should be far enough.
Hopefully.
By September, I would like to be already in next year. So
I I wasn't thinking that far, but by
I
September,
was not either. That sounds
by
fucking weird.
September, I
That'd
hope
be
to
awesome.
be in November.
That'd be awesome, though. And then I won't record for a month, and then we'll be right back to where we started. It'll be great.
Like it always happens.
How are you not going to be able to record for a month?
I won't be able to sit in front of my computer for like at least 2 or 3 weeks.
And that's why you have another mic stand.
True.
You can
Put your
set it on
alarm
your
up
butt.
on like
Hold on,
your
wait.
like end table on your
I
desk.
can record it like this. This is how I'll record high on opiates, because actually I'm not doing that. High on other painkillers because I refuse to take opiates.
Why can't you sit sideways closer to your desk?
Because there's a table right here and I have my foot up, mimicking me crying and being sad that my foot hurty. My foot's gonna be hurty.
You make me want to commit suicide.
All right, well, whatever. So part 1, you guys should all fucking remember what we talked about, because if you're listening to part 2,
Came out 2 weeks ago.
part 1 came out 2 weeks ago, and if you're listening to part 2, you should have listened to part 1, because you're not going to know where the fuck we're picking up from.
That's a good
And
point.
that I'm also saying this because I kind of slightly don't really remember where we're picking up from.
One of us should have listened to that episode.
Jeff did.
I did. We ended at a weird spot.
Oh,
It was like right, I think. Oh God, we'll find out. Right where Adam was talking about the age difference and like how Stacy and Drew met, and that's kind of where we left off. But
So
but the
we
bad
left-
thing is
left
we
off
bounced
before
around.
Stacy. Yeah.
We bounced around so much, because we started that podcast episode talking about the disappearance of Stacy.
We did a little bit, and then we just went into backstory.
Yeah, like his multiple fucking wives.
Yeah.
How shitty Drew is. So yeah, we're gonna start off with the rest of the disappearance of Stacy. Pretty much the investigation, then Drew's trial about getting convicted for Savio's murder. We're gonna talk about hearsay being allowed and why his trial took 2 extra years,
I should probably pull up my notes.
and other things fun in between that we remember. So,
No.
all right. Well, I mean, if we're gonna start this off, we might as well talk about the things that people say they saw happen on the day that Stacy went missing,
Yeah,
which is the super duper fun, cool parts that are super weird.
like his stepbrother.
Just go into it, man.
Oh,
This is
so-
something you've wanted to talk about.
oh yeah. So
Hit all of it. Fucking hit all of it.
Cool.
We'll fucking all
fucking
bitch
well,
about
good
this.
thing I wrote it down in very succinct, somewhat scripted manner. You can cut that out.
Don't cut that out.
Okay.
Professionals. So
Yep.
Drew's stepbrother, Thomas Murphy, claimed that Drew invited him to a coffee shop the evening of Stacy's disappearance. Tom claims that Drew asked him to help move a blue barrel of chlorine. Tom thought this was odd for that time of day. He also thought that it was odd.
I like how the time of day is the odd part.
No. So Tom was a genius, because Tom also thought to him. Tom thought to Tom, you know what else is odd? This blue chlorine barrel being in his bedroom. It's really odd. It also, was odd that chlorine is warm. And that Drew was selling this barrel of chlorine in a 50-gallon drum.
Oh
in the
yeah. By the way,
evening.
this isn't just like a bin.
This is
full,
a 50-gallon barrel.
Did you know that they sell lube in 50-gallon barrels?
I did actually.
porn.
I watched Cow Chop do that. They bought one.
Wild. So Tom, big brain, thought all of this was odd. After he helped Drew move the barrel into his truck, Tom got pissed drunk and went to his neighbor Walter Martinek's house and said that he got helped get rid of Stacy's body. Tom then went home. Tom literally dropped that bomb and left and went back to his house.
Yeah. He
And got
straight up
even
told him,
more pissed drunk and swallowed a
without-
bottle of pills.
I remember from reading, he literally said it and went, "Well," got up and just left.
I don't even think he went inside. I think he was just in the front door.
He just went. He went, "Welp,
Have
I'll
fun with
leave you
this.
to it."
Bye. And then he just mosey on back home, got even more drunk and swallowed a bottle of pills. The next day,
But the thing about Tom is wasn't he known as being a drug addict? Isn't that
And a
why
drunk?
he's
Yeah.
he was known for being
and Drew paid for his cell phone and stuff, and he took care of him.
Mhm.
And when Tom woke up in the hospital, that was wild. When Tom woke up in the hospital after ODing,
as one would do after chugging a bunch of alcohol and then pills.
yeah,
Don't do drugs, kids.
you don't drink heavily instead, like us.
If you're over the age of 21,
Yes, of course, or in
a different country.
in Europe,
Apparently, you can drink at 18 in Wisconsin.
you have to have parental consent or the consent of a minor or an adult. No, whatever.
You can have consent of the minor.
of a parental figure, I think.
No,
Guardian, whatever.
No, facts. Facts for fat kids. You can drink with you can drink with the permission of a minor.
It's fat tips for fat people, not fat facts for fat kids.
I think mine's better though.
No, Adam just made a whole new segment. Nick, you have more work to do.
Oh, great, wonderful. I love it. So when Tom woke up, staring over him in the hospital was Drew, asking if he was okay and do you remember anything? To which Tom looked at him and go, and went back to sleep. So what's interesting about this is so we'll get into this with the hearsay because this is part of the hearsay against Drew and Stacy's case. Murphy, Tom's neighbor. No, so
person lives across the street, right?
Yeah,
they saw them like carrying it and putting it in the back.
Okay, so this is where it gets a little weird. So Tom woke up from the coma because he wasn't a credible witness. The court allowed the testimony of his neighbor. What's his name? Martinek. Yeah. Allow the testimony of his neighbor. And so basically Murphy testified, Martinek supported his testimony, and that was used in the grand trial proceeding of Drew Peterson. Do we need to explain what a grand trial is?
I probably should.
I would say so.
Okay, so a grand trial, a trial is 12 people. A grand trial is anywhere from 9 to 30 people, depending on your state. A grand trial is basically where the prosecutor takes the evidence they have, takes it to the grand jury, and goes, "Hey, can we press charges against him?" And it's a little weird because like the defense isn't allowed to testify or defend themselves really. It's just a showing of evidence. And like the rules are a lot less solid. Like you can allow hearsay, you can allow circumstantial evidence. And Murphy and Martinek's testimony were allowed in the grand jury trial. What is very interesting is I think 2 years after the trial, Martinek died in a car accident on I-55 in northwestern Illinois.
I know where that's at.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, because of this, when it and if this eventually goes to trial, the only evidence of this is Murphy's testimony, because there's a really weird gray area of, is Martinek's testimony in the grand jury trial allowed, even though because technically it's hearsay, but it was also allowed in the court. So are they able to use that testimony even though it's technically hearsay and Martinek isn't there to give his actual testimony because he's dead? So yeah, that's a little wild.
It's the whole thing is fucking wild.
As someone who is a big fan of making things difficult in court, because I think that they should be difficult for a multitude of reasons, this is just a clusterfuck.
Yeah, it's the whole factor, because we'll get into it later. This whole fucking case about Stacy is like hearsay. Both of them are. They're all hearsay. Because we'll get into the trial about Savio later, and about how the small amount of evidence that they got to use.
Yeah.
But so another thing about the day that Stacy went missing, people knew that Stacy kept a journal, and the police obviously got a search warrant. They got a search warrant for the 2005 GMC Sport utility vehicle, so the one that the barrel would have been moved in, and then the 2002 Pontiac Coupe, which you can't fit a 55-gallon barrel in, if you were wondering.
You sure? What if you removed the back seat?
No.
I'm kidding. It's a coupe. I'm joking.
But yeah, they've searched both of those and they didn't find shit. Really fun fact about so not too long after this, obviously Drew gets thrown in as a suspect. Wild that's a thing.
Yeah, right.
Who would have ever thought that?
I'm still lost on the fact that anyone would think it's normal to be selling a 55-gallon drum of chlorine from your home. Just what, you happen to have that lying around? You thought, hey, I need to chlorinate a Olympic-sized swimming pool for the next 4 years.
Did they have a pool?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it was that a 55-gallon drum is enough chlorine, liquid chlorine, for that pool for the next 12 to 15 years.
Yeah, no, that heads up.
So yeah, and also chlorine is very not a good idea to store in garages, because if it leaks and aerosolizes, you have war crimes in a box.
AKA
It's
your
fun.
garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's oh my god.
Chlorine
Yeah,
is only liquid chlorine is only recommended to be stored by professionals.
For some background information on chlorine, so my dad's pool they used to have, granted this is not going to be great for audio listeners, but these two guys saw my dad's pool. The size of chlorine that he would have was less than a pint for the whole pool for the whole season.
Yeah. Like if you have algae issues, yeah, you'd use more. But again, that is
enough.
enough.
Use more like shock and shit like that, right?
Well, shock's just a different version of it's just a different version of chlorine. Yeah, it's chlorine with like extra chemicals in it.
Yeah. Like shock. Isn't shock what you would do like at the
if you had
start?
When you open the pool
season. Yeah, when you open it up and it's murky water because it's been sitting
algae,
there for a while. So you put shock in it to shock everything.
Yeah. These are like shocking the algae and bacteria to death.
You're killing it
essentially.
Yeah. But so fun thing about after, this little shit isn't found out. So obviously Drew ends up becoming a suspect. So the police department tries to do an internal investigation. And right before they can do that, Drew retires so he can draw his pension. So they try to take that to court and they lose. Drew gets his fucking pension.
So I listened to the book I listened to, sources. Fuck.
My source is still the same as last time.
Yeah, we did our sources.
Do we not do that?
We did our sources.
We'll do it again.
I feel like that's just a good idea.
Drew Peterson, the Tribune files by the Chicago Tribune.
My book was Fatal Vows by Joseph Hosey. So
I watched a documentary called Drew Peterson by Biography. I also watched a small documentary called Drew Peterson and Stacy Peterson by True Crime Daily's Crime Watch. I also read a article by Crime Watch Daily. And then I watched the parts of the movie Drew Peterson Untouchable, starring Rob Lowe and Kaylee Cuoco.
Which was apparently bad.
It's terrible. I still want to watch it in full at some point.
But the point I was getting to was I feel so bad for the police chief of Bolingbrook.
Hold on, let me read this really quick then. So I'm just going to read the quote. Drew Peterson, quote unquote, brought shame to his department, his chief said Tuesday after the village's police board, which had no choice, accepted Peterson's resignation. Chief Ray McGurry filed a complaint with the Bolingbrook Fire and Police Commission November 14th, seeking disciplinary action against Peterson, who had been suspended without pay pending an internal investigation. Peterson turned in a resignation letter November 12th. This is all in 2007, by the way. But McGurry refused to accept it, wanting him to be held accountable for the internal investigations findings. The board recognized the seriousness of the charges presented by the chief. Commission attorney Kathleen Elliott said, reading a statement, "Unfortunately, the board is without jurisdiction. Peterson's resignation was effective immediately when tendered, and therefore he is no longer a member of the police department and no longer subject to the jurisdiction of the board."
So the police chief, when Stacy went missing, he had only been police chief for a couple of years, but before that he worked for Bolingbrook alongside Peterson. He hated Peterson.
It is Ray McGurry, by the way.
Yeah, Ray McGurry. He fucking hated Peterson. When Stacy's family came in and asked him, "Hey, what are you gonna do about Drew?" And they're like, "Well, she went missing." And I was like, "Well, what about his other wife?" And they're like, or Stacy's family's like, what about his other wife? Like, this is a trend of wives going missing. And Ray McGurry is just like, "Excuse me, I was never told of this." He was never informed of Savio when he took the position. He fucking hated Peterson. He tried to get him fired like his entire time.
Yeah, so
as
a thing
commissioner,
also
or
right there before
whatever, chief.
it said that they tried to they wanted to terminate him a year or two before because of some things that he did, but they weren't serious enough to warrant termination yet.
Yeah.
So that's what he wanted to do the internal investigation on. But yeah, Peterson's fucking can I find
smart
it?
as hell, honestly.
He is smart,
He's
but
really,
I'm talking about what was his pension. It was fucking
it's a Bolingbrook cop. It's
so
just
the
insane.
police pension board voted to give the 29-year veteran his $6,068 monthly pension.
That is,
Wouldn't that be amazing if I could make more than $1,700 a month?
He's a 29 year
that
veteran.
is
He's been doing it for a long time.
$72,000 a year just off pension. And Peterson had multiple businesses.
He's also, it's 29 years. You can retire after like 25, right, or something.
Old pension, all of the Illinois state pensions, yes.
Yeah.
They've changed things now where like the early, either after 25 years or 65 years, whichever comes last.
Yeah.
So
he got smart, but shitty.
Yeah.
But because we talked about it beforehand, when Peterson was undercover, wasn't he like selling drugs or helping with that or some shit? It was something.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
he claimed to be working on like getting undercover and working on drug ops. And the guy that he tried to get prosecuted for drug dealing claimed and had not a lot of evidence, but like had pretty good points to be like, hey, he's not trying to stop us. He was trying to worm his way into being a drug dealer using his police resources.
So a little bit more background about like Stacy and Drew's relationship, because I don't know if we hit it hard enough in the first one with how shitty he was to his wives.
Well, he wanted her to get.
So 3.5 weeks prior to her disappearance, she met up with one of her exes. Or one of her ex's brothers. And they exchanged texts and they kind of seemed flirty, it just kind of depends on who you are as a person, I guess. But apparently his name was Rosetto. That's just the last name. I don't know his first name. Rosetto said that Peterson just showed up to the dinner. He was actually driving around in a squad car. He drove around the building a couple times. He said that Stacy had argued with her husband about her plans to meet Rosetto and the others at the restaurant. They weren't there like alone. It was a group. Drew Peterson came in, sat down, and was just quiet at their table. He asked me how I would feel if my wife went off with another guy. So,
Good question.
Super fucking awkward. And he just sat there for like 15-20 minutes and then just got up and left.
Well, so in the movie, a fuck ton of time they had Drew Peterson like a few blocks away doing like shit that you would do as a PI of just parked, but in his squad car, driving it and just staring at Stacy. And like Stacy's just mowing the lawn, doing housework, like things, and he would just sit there.
I mean, as a PI, I never would have drove around the building multiple times. I would have
waited
for them to parked near them, and then also as a PI, you would go in. You wouldn't.
But I'm just saying, like doing the like I'm in the park a few blocks away. Still, I can see them, and Stacy knew that this was like she could see him. Still, like if he can see her, she can see him, and it's a police car with her husband in it.
He's not. It's not an unmarked. It's a marked police car. Like
and he would just sit there and stare, and that was just a normal thing in the movie. I don't know exactly how normal it was in real life because Stacy can't tell us that. But
so obviously there is a huge investigation for Stacy. It goes on for a very long time.
I'll let you go.
No, go ahead. It's like months.
So yeah, there was like investigations. There was search parties. One of the problems with the search parties, or at least, so there are people who there are people in law enforcement who specialize in searches. There are also people in the private sector who volunteer to do these things like searches. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those people complained about the search for Stacy because the search for Stacy was littered with people who were like, this sounds like a fun thing to do on the weekend. We'll go out, we'll look for a dead body, we'll have a picnic, we'll have a couple beers, we'll smoke some pot, it'll be a fun time. It'll be like
but at the same time, like the FBI,
it'll like be getting away to Peoria for the weekend. It'll be so pleasant. It'll be fun for the whole family.
And then like you have like the FBI, they bring in divers to be checking like every fucking pond in Bolingbrook and surrounding areas.
Well, here's the thing is that they're pretty sure he took her to the swamps, which it's one thing people don't realize about Illinois is that the Chicago area was originally, when it was founded, swamps. It was a marshland, and it was built on top of that. And now they're a little harder to find. But if you go out, if you don't even have to go out into the boonies. If you just look in some of the unincorporated areas of like Schaumburg and Lyle,
you can just drive around. And there's like little. It's not like
there's just
parks,
little swamps.
But
there's just little swamps. Like we have cranes, we have
there's
turtles.
Like parks. Yeah, it's like oh, here's a park, and then there's this like giant pond, but it's very swampy.
Illinois is a swamp. That is something people don't realize, and it's very easy to get rid of.
It's sandwiched between the Mississippi and Lake Michigan. It was a swampland.
Yeah. So, and the area is just full of these little swamps, and he's got a dozen to pick from just in Bolingbrook alone. He's got hundreds to choose from in DuPage County, and that's not even saying if he goes into Kane or Kendall, which is even more unincorporated.
And they're also not far from him.
Mm-hmm. No,
you can get to either in a very reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, you can get to either in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
I just still think it's wild that I mentioned this in the first part, like that Drew's defense attorney, Joel Brodsky, says that he knows exactly what happened and where she's at. And he's come out and said that, but he also says that he refuses to say anything more than that he knows until Drew dies.
Mm-hmm. Which is wild.
Well, during these times, there's a shit ton of like
a piece of shit like this is that much power that the defense attorney's like, I'm not saying shit.
No. That's not power. That's the law. That's client. That's attorney-client privilege. That's a constitutional right. That's not power. That's just how due process works.
But something like this,
I know this doesn't.
Something like this is that's shitty. That's a shitty loophole.
So
you think that until you need that exact line.
So how do you
until I need that exact line because I've murdered someone?
No. There is a reason for that. Is so that way there cannot be targeted prosecutions against people, against political enemies. There is a reason for this. I will always take that hard line.
But I realize that. But if I fully admit I killed her, this is where she's buried. I feel like that's just a wild thing to be legal.
So
because all right, cool, you killed her and you're 100%. Yeah, I definitely killed her and she's buried right over there. Okay, now I'm not going to say anything.
That is
like as a lawyer, I feel like that's really like just not as a lawyer, as a human being, that's really shitty to fucking do. And as a lawyer, that makes me no longer want to trust your law firm unless I am a criminal. Like as a criminal, sure, that's what I would want. But as an innocent person, I don't want you.
So your point as a defense attorney isn't to care if your client is like is guilty or not guilty
with the civil right that they are owed by the Constitution.
And it like even if like there's 100% like everyone knows you did it, and like there is evidence that you did it, they don't care. Their thing is now to get you the least like sentence they can get you, like the minimum they can get you is now their plan.
If the lawyer were to tomorrow be like, hey, here's where the location is, Drew told me this 10 years ago, he is immediately disbarred. He faces up to 20 years in prison, and even if that doesn't happen, he'll never get another job in law again, ever. I mean, at all.
How old's Joel at this point?
Drew? In the 60s, 70, 70. He might be in. Oh,
Like,
Joel
Brodsky.
Oh, I have no idea. But I mean, it's a fictional show and it's not very accurate. But How to Get Away with Murder, they show that a lot because she's a defense attorney, and she will walk in. She's like, I need to know if you did it. She's like, whatever you say doesn't matter. She's like, you could tell me straight up you did it. That does not matter. I just need to know how to build my defense.
The reason that's there is, what if it's a lot of what ifs. What if there's a cop that hates your guts because you smacked his car and now he's trying to frame you for murder, shit like that. It is to prevent the extreme.
I mean, to be perfectly fair, at this point, Joel has already faced many misconducts and suspension stuff. So I just looked him up, and the first thing is Drew Peterson's former lawyer facing 2-year suspension and misconduct. And a state panel has recommended that he is suspended. That happened literally last year. Mm-hmm. Like at this point, you're already another one should be suspended from 3 years ago. His license was suspended 3 years ago.
Not a good guy, not a good lawyer, but at the same time,
at this point, and you're old as fuck. Who gives a shit anymore? Just tell us where her body is. Your law firm's already discredited. Do you think he'll say something like on his deathbed?
Who, Drew?
No.
Joel.
No.
Joel? Oh.
I
don't.
As his defense attorney, like, is saying, I'm not saying anything until Drew passes away. But if if Joel's on his deathbed, do you think he'll?
It could be a last will and testament thing.
And like, what are they going to do to him?
It could be a last will. Well, that's an. No, that's a wild thing.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
So there's quote unquote sightings of Stacy. None of them are proven. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go into all of them because there's a lot and it's kind of fucking pointless. So they start holding vigils for her, obviously. The vigils seemed like a lit fucking time, though. You know what they did at the vigils?
Drink.
They drank. They used to just like say "fuck Drew." They made piñatas with his face on it and just
she's
beat
Irish,
the fuck
isn't
out
she?
of him. I have no idea.
What's her last name? Stacy.
That's too far up for me to have to scroll.
That's fair enough.
I don't think I put it in my notes. I mean, she was white with blonde hair.
Thanks for narrowing it down to Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, Irish is unlikely. Probably it could be, but it's unlikely.
I was gonna make a joke about her family and that checking out. But no, I
mean, they're still alive, so I can't wait for them to sue us now.
So before they start going into court and stuff, there's a huge thing about the search warrants for the cars that ends up fucking things over. So on November 1st, they towed the cars to go search them. The search warrant labeled that the vehicles were meant to be searched, not seized and So,
Oh God.
yeah. So that's a fun thing.
Fun thing about the law. When and words matter. So if you search the car at 6 p.m. and the warrant comes through at 6:05 p.m., that search is no longer good.
Also, the thing about search warrants is they have to be down to the letter
specific. Yeah,
to the letter be specific. Like if I were, say, I was a cop and I showed up to Nick's house, and we thought that he had illegal firearms, and say we wanted to search specific spots, say Nick had like a shed in his backyard, we're like, okay, in it says we can search the entirety of his basement and his shed, and Nick literally had the guns hidden somewhere in his living room. We don't get to search that.
If they're not in plain sight, doesn't count. If it is not in plain sight on the path to the basement and or the shed, nope.
Does not matter. So in crime shows,
I need to go to the bathroom. Nope, not good.
So in crime shows, when they come in to like question someone and the other detective walks off and starts walking around the house, illegal as shit.
Super illegal.
Super illegal. So if cops ever ask to come into your house to question you and one of them walks off, walk with them. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed to fucking touch a damn thing.
Free legal advice from you. Hate to see it. Say no. Sorry, officer. I'm sorry I'm making your day more difficult. Get a warrant. Sorry. I wish I could help you. Get a warrant. If they have something, they'll go get it free and easy. If they really had something, they would have come with it.
So do you guys know anything about Stacy's cleric? AKA
I only know about
her
priest.
I know a little bit. Drew accused him of having an affair.
Yeah, so she went to him, like she did like confessions and stuff with him about and talked to him about the things that happened. But like there's this weird line between like his like the confidentiality that has to be held and like shit like that. But yeah, Drew ends up slandering the cleric, saying that he was like having an affair with Stacy. Or Stacy was having an affair with him.
Wasn't he already married? Because she wasn't the cleric.
Oh, probably.
Because she wasn't Catholic, so I think he was married.
But yeah, like,
which also is like anything he said. I'm not entirely certain what denomination and what it is, but because it wasn't Catholic, he may have been able to talk about it once she died.
It's not even that he wasn't allowed to talk about it. I think no matter what, like denomination you are, I feel like when it comes down to crime, you're allowed to bring it up. Like, but yeah, he's like slandering everything. He's slandering the fucking priest, saying that like, oh, he was probably fucking her and like shit like that. And it's like, Drew does everything for his own defense in this. And like we said, like Drew is smart. Like he worked in the law. He knows what he needs to do to get around shit.
He's been doing it before.
Yeah, he's been doing it for fucking years at this point.
Yeah. I remember during the investigation, like the media frenzy in his yard. I remember that too. I remember the day he went out with a camcorder and was like, "Hey, you guys like this?" And he's just waving a camera in the reporter's face. I remember that. That was wild. That was wild for a 9-year-old Nick to see.
That man was going on talk shows and stuff. Like he was straight up selling the fact that
this is a thing that I was going to get into later, but I'll just bring it up now. There was a radio show or something that Drew, they came up with date. What was the name of it?
It was like Win a Date to Drew Peterson. Or
Win a Date to Drew Peterson. And the radio show was like, no, like this is a bad idea.
Yeah, their lawyers were like, hey, stop this.
And he was like, oh no, it'll like put me in a better light and stuff. And it's like, no, fuck off. There's also a whole thing about him on the Today Show, and like the shit he says on the Today Show is fucking wild. So, which is actually something I thought we should watch together. So I'll look that up. We're not going to do it right this second, but we'll get to it. Continue on.
So he went on Larry King. And he like met someone at some point and started dating someone. And he had this weird game with her while he was on the Larry King show talking to him, where whenever he would rub his right earlobe it was a signal to her that he was thinking about getting a blowjob from her.
Wait, what? Hold
Yeah.
on. What did you say?
So when he went on Larry King, he had a game with the girl he was dating after Stacy. Where whenever he would rub his right earlobe, it was him thinking about getting a blowjob from her.
I mean, I
that
do
he
that
loved
to
her and
Nick
shit.
all the time.
Do you guys just want to watch this Today Show thing?
I mean, not right now.
I mean, we're talking about the stupid shit Drew Peterson did while this was going on, so might as well.
It's Jeff's job to edit, so I don't care. Genius, a work of art, really.
Yeah. So
and then immediately after that interview, Matt Lauer went and stooped his secretary.
I hope so.
Separate.
He deserves it after that interview. Good for him.
No,
we do not condone rape.
We do not.
Make sure you start playing the music as Nick's saying we do not.
Only over him somehow, though. Like we
Yes.
come out, I amplify us, and then I quiet down Nick.
and here we can see that Nick did not condone.
Cut Nick
Or
right
condemn.
after he says I do, and then
Perfect. This is with the power of editing. We'll fuck this guy over.
The power of editing. Nick will never get any of the jobs he ever wants. Yeah, but I mean, if that doesn't just show, like, I don't know. I don't get why he went and did these like interviews when he can't. He brings his lawyer and he can't answer any of the questions. What was his point of going and doing them? Like, that's my thing. Is like
I can also see of like like. Granted, you could
Actually,
just say
I think
no,
I might
and
know.
people won't know. But if you say,
I also
yes,
think I might know.
It might help
because
prove you're innocent.
it was probably to make the jury pool even smaller because there's going to be so many people that know about the case.
Yeah.
Nationally.
No, that makes sense.
So I'm assuming that's probably why he did it. Because people who don't know about jury selection, if you know anything about, not anything, but if you know enough about the case, you automatically get thrown out of jury selection for it.
That's like the George Floyd trial over the past summer.
Yeah.
That there's a really good chance that case gets thrown out just because of jury tampering, just because everyone knew about it.
Fucking literally the whole, like, Drew Peterson is a different situation. Jeff only lived 3 hours away and has no idea what we're talking about. George Floyd is known.
That's not to say like my
worldwide.
parents didn't, but like I was young at the time. It's not like I would have paid attention to it. Like whereas you guys lived in the area, like
but that's
even as kids,
that's a huge thing. That is a huge thing about like trials like this.
You want to slim down your jury pool, get dumber people. Like I hate to say it, I don't want to be like rude, but you want dumber people easier manipulated.
Mm-hmm. And just people who don't pay attention to the news and shit.
People who like almost don't want to be
I'm
there.
Stupid, and I don't pay attention to the news unless it's on Facebook.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about now, though, is like everything's everywhere. It's hard to not know about something.
Which is why like trials move and shit. Like just trial locations can be moved.
Yeah, change of venues.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess really all we got to go off of now is like we just moved to the trial. So obviously the first trial he goes on is the one for Savio, which is, but they go to do it.
Why is that the first one he deals
because they don't know anything about Stacy yet.
They can't try Stacy. Stacy can't be tried right now.
So they try him for the new homicide one, and he's like the only suspect they have. So, and when they go right before they go to trial is when they're like the prosecution brings up like we need to recess because of this. Like, I don't exactly know the wording or how it works, but basically because their hearsay is about to become a thing that is going to be legal, which hearsay wasn't a thing. And hearsay is literally how it sounds. People who hear stuff from the victim they now get to go into evidence or like go on stand and
wasn't
say
the hearsay made illegal because of this case?
Pretty much.
Hearsay's always been illegal, but like the law got more defined here.
This is what like really this is why it took 2 years to go to the trials, because they really fucking fine-tuned the shit out of it so it could work in this. And that's why hearsay law is called Drew's law because of this case, because his was like the major one, like the first one that it was really used in.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, they go to trial for this wonderful shit. Fun fact, the bathtub isn't allowed into evidence. Okay, never mind. I guess the bathtub was allowed. I can't find the thing that says it wasn't.
Jeff's just making up facts at this point.
I mean, why not? Fuck it, right?
That's what Drew Peterson does.
We've only been fact checked once, so who really cares, right?
I forgot that we were fact checked.
Yeah.
It was over just me miss saying something. But whatever. All right, yeah, I guess the bathtub might have been allowed. I can't find the thing that says it wasn't. So
Get fucked.
but yeah, so hearsay gets allowed, and guess what starts off? Fucking hearsay gets brought in. And that is a shit ton of fucking people to bring in, because Savio told a boatload of people that she felt unsafe around Drew. I don't even know how to go into that. Like, it's there are so many people that testify about the thing that of like he told her he could kill her and make it look like an accident. Like, she told so many people that because he said it to her.
Did officers have like body cameras on at this
That
time?
wasn't really a thing yet. No.
Body cams didn't come in until like
Also, a local
Probably, like,
department like Bolingbroke wouldn't really have body cameras.
Because I know she had called the cops on him multiple times, and they showed up and tell her that she was stupid and wrong.
No.
So I didn't know if there was any body cam footage at all of that happening.
I mean, pretty much this whole trial is just hearsay. Like, obviously, her body gets brought in as evidence because, I mean, they did another fucking autopsy and found out that she had been murdered. But outside of that, a lot of this evidence is just hearsay because it's been 4 years. There's not a lot of shit that you can go off of outside of her body. Like, obviously, the bathtub, like Nick said, could have been renovated, or it's clearly been cleaned since then.
I don't know
Like,
what you're talking about.
Yeah. The blood's still in it.
I've never cleaned a bathtub in my life. That's a lie.
sounds gross.
I clean a bathtub every month.
That sounds scummy as shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but no, it's all hearsay. There's so many people. They end up during the pretrial. The judge allows Stacy's priest gets to end up testifying for hers during her trial. Like, he allows a lot of shit. Like, there's a lot of people allowed to do their hearsay, and it fucking works. When you have a plethora of people saying, yeah, no, she did not feel safe, and it's just not family, it's family,
at the very least circumstantial.
It's just fucking I don't know what you guys go into it a little bit. Like, what do you guys got on this fucking trial? Because I don't have anything else to say other than it was mostly just circumstantial, and it fucking worked. Like,
Yeah,
Glasgow did his job fucking well.
Yeah.
I don't remember the trial at all, and all of my documentaries were made pre-trial.
My book was also pre-Savio trial. That being said, from what I know about it, hearsay is a weird thing to deal with because hearsay's.
So what I remember reading about it when they made it
in
was
a lot of states.
So it's illegal in a lot of states, but what I remember reading about it was that how they passed it is that if the victim of the crime can't defend themselves, then hearsay is allowed.
That
So
makes
basically,
some
like,
kind of
murder.
sense, yeah.
So, like, if the victim cannot actually show up and testify, aka murder cases, then hearsay is allowed, type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
To put it down to like dumber words.
To put it down to dum-dum.
Gum.
Nick, what do you remember about it from your childhood? As someone who lived through it.
You were closer.
Yeah, I was closer. It was, oh God, it was a really.
You're literally.
I
Like 10 minutes
remember.
away.
I remember a lot of the fucking media circus that was around it.
That's what I got.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when they exhumed her body. That was crazy because that was the first time I'd ever seen a body come out of the ground. Because
You need to watch more movies.
Well, I was what? This was in 08, so I was 10,
11, 10, 11.
11, yeah, 10, 11. So
I would have been 11, 12. Yeah.
yeah. So it's not.
I had
a
more
lot.
pressing matters like puberty in girls,
I had more pressing matters like
fathers.
Well, a fun
that was about that time period. That was about that time period, actually.
so a fun
Your
thing-
dad killed Stacy.
A fun thing
That's-
I'm looking at on the Chicago Tribune's like actual page on August 29, 2012. This is a quote from the Chicago Tribune's like timeline of Drew Peterson. In a move that some court watchers saw as a defense error and a prosecutor welcomed as a quote unquote a gift from God, the defense called a witness who testified that Stacy told him Drew Peterson murdered Savio, which I'm pretty sure would have been I think it might have been the priest or the pastor.
Could have been.
Because Stacy had said that he had told her that he killed his last wife.
Now I have a question, and this is also just because I'm not religious. Isn't what you say to a priest also like secretive?
So
We talked about this literally earlier in this episode.
in the Catholic Church, if
We
it
talked
is
about
during
defense attorneys.
So in the Catholic Church, if it is said during confession, during the rite of confession, anything you say, no matter, you can be admitting to a genocide. Priest can't say anything.
Mhm.
Nothing at all, ever. It is between you, the priest, and God, because at that point it is the priest acting as a vessel for God's forgiveness. That's
Also,
essentially
before he
what
goes
it
any
is.
farther, I'm not saying it was the priest because I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't say who it was.
That is Catholic. That is Catholic. I don't know what denomination Stacy was. I don't believe she was Catholic. I am almost certain she wasn't. I don't know how Lutherans deal with that. Or
You can do confessions, but you have
Protestants
to
do it.
like ask for confessions. It's at least in my church, confessions weren't a thing we did. Like
Yeah.
it was like you could ask your pastor for like to do confession
Yeah.
and it would be fine. But
Catholics require a priest in order for mortal sins. You need a priest. For I can't remember the term, but like lesser sins, like not one of the big 10, you don't need a priest. That's just you're forgiven by going to communion because
Like-
you need to be clean of sin to get communion. It's a
You're
thing.
talking like I stole a Twinkie from.
Yeah, that's not a mortal sin.
Walmart.
That's not a mortal. Yeah, no, you thief. That's not a mortal sin. Hey, I stole 10 grand from a children's hospital. Mortal sin. You need a priest, and probably a lawyer.
yeah, if people find out, you need a lawyer also.
Basically, if you need a lawyer, you also need a priest. That's essentially what I'm getting at. So yeah, again, and this is all moot because Jeff doesn't even know if this was the priest.
It doesn't say. It just
It very well could have been. It may not have been. It's a thing.
It's amazing how many people you can confess your guilt to. That's extremely awful, and no one can say anything.
All right.
That feels like a broken system somewhere to me.
The two what confidentiality is broken?
I mean, it just fucking depends, man.
No,
I'm on a case by
white.
case basis.
Black and
all
white.
right. So never mind. No, that's not it.
Yeah, it's
Let me
fine. I'll
see
keep
if I'm
yelling
finding
at
it.
him.
No,
Either
I get that it's black and white, and I'm saying that there should be some gray area in this.
either the rules apply to everyone for everything, or they apply to no one for nothing.
or they could apply to everyone for some things.
Nope. It's everything or it's everyone and everything. That's how it has to be to avoid subjectivity. The law is blind. That is the
I just
chief
find it
American
wild.
idol.
So it was
that-
not. So it was not the priest. The person they called who said this was Savio's divorce attorney, Harry Smith.
That's a different thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay.
But still,
actually,
That's
he's probably
wild.
legally obligated to report
yeah.
that.
yeah, that's still wild though that's who it was. So we'll go down a little bit. So that happens August 29, 2012. September 6, 2012, after 2 days of deliberation, the jury finds Drew Peterson guilty of murder of Savio.
That's a decent amount of time for a deliberation on a murder.
Yeah.
It's not like nothing super quick or long.
So November
We should watch
16th.
12 Angry Men Just
It's a
just
great
to
fucking.
interject
That
there.
I love
is-
The
all of that.
original, not
I
the
love-
remake. The
Oh
original.
no, I love the plays of that. Like my high school put on a play of the 12 Angry Men. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's just a great fucking.
Next
whole thing.
next time we're over, we're gonna watch 12 Angry Men.
I don't know what 12 Angry Men is.
The
Oh my
black and
God.
white version, not the
Oh,
1994
you'll
version.
no Nick, you'll watch it. It's great. You'll love it. It's very
Well,
good.
okay.
It's phenomenal.
It's 12
It's got
jurors, but
it's Henry Fonda.
It's,
I do
um,
like me some Henry Fonda.
Oh,
it's
it's
just
so good.
jurors where one of them won't vote unanimously for someone to get convicted.
Yeah,
and
it's
then he
I think
convinces everyone
it's a
else.
conviction murder, and yeah,
Yeah.
there's Henry Fonda's the one juror that's like, he's like, I'm not
And it
saying
all
he
ra- oh, yeah,
didn't do
it's
it,
so good.
but what
It's
I
so
am
good.
saying is that there's reasonable doubt that he did. And
Yeah.
then
There was a
Over
Batman
the-
comic about that 2 years ago.
over
shut
the
the fuck up.
course of an hour and a half, he converts everyone to his side that
So-
there's reasonable doubt.
November 16th, 2012, Peterson requests a new trial, citing ineffective counsel and mistakes by his legal team. Whatever you can do to appeal, I guess. February 21st, 2013, the judge finally denies a new trial for Peterson and sentences him to 38 years in prison. And then the fun thing that we're going to let Nick just go on a fucking tirade about, February 9th, 2015, Peterson is charged with trying to put a hit on James Glasgow, the lead prosecutor in the Will County murder trial.
All right. So, free legal tips from Nick here. Yes, I slammed my desk. That was on purpose. If you lose your trial and you lose your appeal and you're guilty, there are two things that are horrible ideas that take chief horrible ideas. One would be assaulting a correctional officer. The other is putting out an assassination hit on the prosecutor that got you convicted.
The lead prosecutor.
Yeah. The state prosecutor, actually. So Drew Peterson put out feelers to try and hire someone to kill Glasgow, thinking this is a brilliant idea, just genius. So he puts out feelers to get a hit out on Glasgow, and Glasgow, the FBI hears about it, the Illinois State Police hear about it, and they're like, hey, let's get this dumbass wants to hang himself, let's give him some rope. And they put someone undercover to talk to him, and he sets the whole thing up. He pays the money, and wham bam, thank you, ma'am, you are now convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and murder for hire. Fun fact, those are just murder charges that give you an extra 25 years.
So yeah, so after that happens, May 23rd, 2016, Peterson's murder for hire trial goes underway. And then May 31st, 2016, it took the jury only about an hour to find Drew Peterson guilty of solicitation of murder and solicitation of murder for hire.
Yeah, voice tapes will do that to you. He's an idiot. He's a smart idiot, but he's still an idiot.
He did so many things, like, I don't want to say right, but he did many things like intelligently, and then just fucking ruined it.
And then he went on and decided to be a dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, that's us on Drew Peterson, man. This guy's fucking awful.
He's
That's it.
he's a horrible human being. He's a piece of Adam and I's childhood.
A relatively large piece of our childhood, too.
He took over about 2 years of our childhoods.
Fucking wild. It's something that I just came into and learned about. Like, oh my god. Like,
Yeah, it's just
I don't think there's any doubt
so
that
there's
he killed Savio.
No,
and
not at all.
clearly he killed fucking Stacy, because someone would have found her. She would have came out by now. Something like,
so there's
unless she's in witness protection somehow.
there's the phrase, no one hates a dirty cop more than a good cop. Peterson's a fucking dirty cop, and literally all of Bolingbrook hated his guts. Illinois State Police at that time didn't know how to run an investigation to save their asses. And Bolingbrook had their hands tied.
This is also definitely the something in Illinois police history that now whenever people think of Illinois cops, they think that they're awful.
Especially
like this is the start of that whole just decline. 'Cause then those bad things keep happening and they get blown out of proportion.
It's really
because
shitty.
of this.
Yeah, it's really shitty. One bad apple, all that shit. But he was the loudest. He's the whenever someone thinks of a Bolingbrook cop, they're not going to think of the police chief. I don't even remember his name when we just talked about him. We're going to think of Drew Peterson, which is really shitty for the entire department. It's really shitty for Bolingbrook as a whole. It's just shitty for law enforcement in general that there are these assholes and animals that it's the same as like a pedophile priest. He was a criminal who became a cop. He wasn't a cop who was also a criminal. He was a criminal who thought best way to get away with crime, be a cop.
It worked for a long time.
It worked for a really long time. It worked a hell of a lot longer than it should have.
Well, everyone, that's our part 2 on Drew Peterson. That's the wrap up.
Hi, doggo.
It was
wish it could have been a little bit better. Wish it could have been a little bit better. There's a lot of shit that happened in this that we left out. I'll make a deal. If we ever get this episode, part 2, to 150 listens, we'll come back. We'll do Drew Peterson right, and we'll give you all the nitty gritty details that go into these, like the tiny little things that people who, because I have who testified on the grand jury.
You have the fucking
I have
trial
the,
and shit.
I have all the trial, but it's so nitty gritty.
We'll
bullshit.
try. Why don't we do interviews? If we hit 150 listens,
I'm fine with trying to find people.
Let's try and find some interviews.
If we hit 150, we're gonna have to put in way more work to get interviews. But sure, fuck it, I'll fucking try. But I won't guarantee that part.
Drew himself.
No, we're not.
He will get disconnected by his attorney within at least 30 seconds when Nick and I tell him to go kill himself.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
Why you did it?
It's some good content though.
But we will.
We will come back.
We'll come back and we'll go through the trial piece by piece, the little bits and pieces, and then maybe some other details. But we will also try to get you an interview. But that's what I'm putting out there for you. Something we've never achieved. So yeah, I mean, any final wrap up thoughts outside? I mean, yeah, we are pretty close on a couple, but I mean, we've never been there. So if part 2 specifically, it's 250.
Choo-choo. Jump on the hate train.
Yeah, anyone got any little last second things before I just do this fucking outro?
No,
I'm good.
No. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to yet again another Drunken Jurors, part 2 of Drew Peterson. Glad we got to wrap that up because it was a fucking train wreck. It was something.
Do we have a tease for what we're doing next or no?
I kind of do. It's going to involve someone up in Michigan and the guy who committed it being literally fucking stupid from the get-go. But I'll tell you guys about that when we're done recording, and
I like it.
We'll get that ready.
They remind me of me.
Be prepared for the next Drunken Jurors. It'll be a fun one. I like to think it'll be a 1-parter. There's no way it'll be 2. I don't think. Who knows? We'll see. Things get drawn out here because we get drunk, but
never.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never been drunk in my life.
Never. Nope.
If you want to find us on social media, just go into the description of this podcast. We'll have our link tree there with all of our social medias. If you want to listen to us, I mean, I'm not going to tell you. It's also in the link tree, but I'm not going to tell you because I mean, you're already listening to this, so you found us. Congrats to you.
I'm confused.
On what?
How
they found us?
I was staring at my tongue. I got lust in my eyes.
Did you say you have lust in your eyes?
Kill the pun. End it, for the love of God, please.
Oh my God. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Nick, do your thing.
Fucking professionals have standards. We sure as fuck don't.